Welcome back. So, for the past few episodes, we've been on this incredible journey exploring the what if of the liquid information framework. Well, today, we're asking how. This is part 6 of our 8-part series, and we are officially moving from the purely theoretical to the practical. We're going to look at the actual concrete experiments designed to test this groundbreaking idea.
Right, so just as a quick refresher, the framework puts forward a pretty wild idea. What if our thoughts, our health, even our societies all operate on the same basic principles of informational flow and coherence? You can think of it like tuning an old-school radio. The clearer the signal, the better the music. But how on earth do you even begin to prove something like that?
Here's the roadmap for today. We're going to start small, at the personal level, looking at the body as a kind of biological antenna. Then we'll scale up to how we can tune our minds with machines. From there, we'll get into the really cool stuff, engineering group intelligence. And finally, we'll zoom all the way out to see if we can decode the patterns of history itself, all to build towards one unified vision. Okay, so first up, let's treat the human body like a biological receiver. The core question here is actually pretty simple, but it's also incredibly profound. Can we measurably tune our internal state, our actual consciousness, with the right kind of informational inputs?
Let's begin with something every single one of us does every single day: eating. The very first experiment completely reframes diet. It's not just about calories for fuel. It's about bioinformational modulation. It's asking a simple question: does the quality of the information in our food literally change the quality of our thoughts?
So here's the setup. It's a proposed controlled trial. You've got Group 1, and they get a diet of whole foods, things like fresh plants and ethically raised animals. The framework calls this high-integrity information. Then you've got Group 2. They get the ultra-processed stuff, packaged foods, refined sugars, which is essentially low-coherence information. You can think of it as just static or informational noise for your body.
And check this out. The measurements go way beyond just weight or cholesterol. The experiment would actually track brainwave synchrony with an EEG, measure the balance and resilience of your nervous system through heart rate variability, and even test creative problem-solving skills. So the real question becomes, can a clean diet literally make you a more coherent, insightful thinker?
And the prediction? Well, the hypothesis is that the whole food group would show way higher brain coherence and just flat-out better cognitive performance. If that holds true, it would be powerful evidence that what you put in your mouth directly tunes your entire cognitive and physiological system.
And it doesn't stop with food. Other experiments on this personal scale would look at using specific frequencies of light to boost your focus or creativity. Or, get this, using rhythmic sounds like binaural beats to actually get your brain hemispheres in sync, which could potentially boost memory and give you more of those aha moments of insight.
So from there, we level up. We go from just passively receiving information to actively managing it. And this, of course, brings us to the fascinating interaction between our minds and our machines. What happens when we use technology to filter out the overwhelming noise of the modern world? I want you to imagine a really high-stress job, okay? Like an emergency dispatcher or a stock trader. In this experiment, one group gets what they usually get, a raw, unfiltered fire hose of data coming at them. But the other group? They get an AI-powered coherence filter. It's an AI that's actively highlighting what's important, suppressing the noise, and giving critical context. It's basically an AI acting as a cognitive stabilizer. So how would we even know if it's working? Well, we could measure the brain's cognitive load directly with an EEG to see how hard it's working. We could track physiological stress levels by measuring skin conductivity. That's the galvanic skin response. And of course, the bottom line, we'd score the accuracy of the decisions they make under all that pressure. The implication here is just huge. If this experiment works as predicted, it would show that AI could be so much more than a simple productivity tool. It could actually become an external amplifier for our own mental clarity, helping us think better and make smarter decisions in a world that just keeps getting more complex. Okay, now let's zoom out again. We've looked at the individual. But what happens when you apply these same principles of informational coherence not just to one person, but to an entire group? Is it possible to actually engineer collective intelligence? So this next experiment, it tackles a very, very modern problem, this social media feed. Imagine two groups, both asked to solve a complex problem together, but they're getting their information from two totally different platforms. One gets a coherence-optimized feed.
It's balanced, it's verified, it's logical. The other group gets the feed we're all a bit too familiar with, one that's engagement optimized, meaning it's designed to be sensational and provoke an emotional reaction. Now, the metrics for this are just fascinating. Researchers would actually measure if the group's heart rhythms literally start to sync up, a sign of deep rapport. They'd also track how long it takes them to agree on something and have outside experts rate the quality of their final solution. The whole point is to see if a coherent information feed helps people not just feel more aligned, but actually think better together.
What an experiment like this aims to prove is that the very architecture of our digital spaces, how the information flows, is a primary factor in whether a group becomes smarter together or just becomes a dysfunctional mess. And that has massive implications for how we design our entire online world.
All right, for our final set of experiments, we are taking the biggest leap of all. We're moving from a small group in a lab to the grand, sweeping story of human history. The question is, can the liquid information framework help us decode the rise and fall of entire civilizations?
I mean, that is the central audacious question, isn't it? The proposal is to use large-scale computational analysis. We're talking combing through millions of digitized books, legal documents, journals, to actually measure the informational health of a society over centuries.
And here's where we see the core hypothesis in action. The theory predicts a really clear pattern, a period of high semantic coherence, a time when a society's ideas are clear, consistent, and well-argued, is followed, maybe a decade or two later, by a huge burst of innovation and progress. In other words, coherence comes first, and then creation follows.
So as we start to bring all of these threads together, what does it all really mean? From your diet to your digital tools, from how your team works together to the grand flow of history, these experiments aren't just disconnected ideas. They're all designed to build toward a single, unified new science.
This research pipeline really is a journey. It starts with you, at the personal level, literally tuning your own system. It then expands to the social level, showing us how we can design better ways to think together. And it culminates at the civilizational level, offering a totally new lens to understand our past and maybe, just maybe, help shape our future. The ultimate goal is nothing less than a unified science of consciousness itself.
Which, of course, leaves us with this one final provocative thought. If these experiments, all of them, actually hold up, it suggests that information isn't just something we consume or create. It might just be the fundamental language of reality itself, and learning to speak that language fluently could be the most important skill we ever develop.
If this has sparked your curiosity, and I hope it has, the full framework, experiments, and extensions are detailed in the paper linked below. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.